Hello and thanks for joining me for some more landscape photography, and today I'm absolutely delighted to be back out in the Snowdonia mountains, and even better, I've got my tent with me and I'm going to be spending the night up on this ridge. Now we're back on Llyn and this is where I brought you straight out of lockdown back in April. And I've always liked this little peak. It's not very high at all. It's completely dwarfed by the surrounding ridges. However, it does give me a fabulous vantage point and it's a really nice place to spend the night. Now my intention was to be up here for sunrise as the sun comes up behind Snowdon and Eryri across the valley there, but I've only just arrived up here and it's all getting a bit rushed because straight away I spotted a decent composition. Now I don't know if the light's going to play ball. It has clouded up since I set up, but I thought I'm running a bit short of time because I've only got about 40 minutes before the sun drops down behind the flank of Mynydd Mawr. So even though it's not actually sunset for a couple of hours, for me it'll be all over in about 30 or 40 minutes. So I've already taken the foreground shot just in case I don't get any light catching these rocks. Now it's kind of awkward because I'm balancing on this bit of rock. It's really the only place that I could get the composition I was after. I've had to sort of contort my tripod accordingly. This is going to be not particularly complicated, but I'm going to have to be careful because what I've got is some really nice layers, but I've got rocks very close to the camera. I'm going to shoot this at, I don't know, 14 millimeters, and I have got a 0.9 soft grad on, although I shouldn't really. I should exposure blend it, and I probably will anyway. But there was a lot of light coming up through the valley earlier on, and I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't flaring when I was shooting the foreground. Unfortunately, I have got a great big slab of cloud in the way at the moment. It's got, if it shifts in the next 20 minutes, that'll be great. There are some sunbeams way down in the V of the valley, which would be nice if I need a bit of definition in them. I can kind of see them, but there isn't any real definition in them. Shooting at f5.6, but I've shot a foreground as a banker. If I get some light on these rocks, if that cloud shifts, I'll reshoot it. Then I've got the cliff of Craigbera over on the right hand side, and unfortunately the angle of that is that the sun is behind it. It's not going to catch any light, although it's still really dramatic, and I'm hoping I'll be able to pull something out of that in post and just put a bit of contrast into it, so at least you get an idea of how impressive it is. I really like the jagged profile of it, and then if this cloud plays ball, it could be really good. I've got a really bright highlight right down in the V of the valley because I'm looking down at the Irish Sea, and it must be lovely down on the beach at the moment. It's a bit chilly up here, but I hadn't expected to have any sort of a shot up here. It was flat grey when I set out, and as I crested the ridge to where I'm planning to spend the night, I thought, oh, there might be an image there, and so here we are. I don't really need to hang around behind the camera at the moment. What I'm going to do is set up camp, keep an eye on things, and dash back up, because I'm only about 3 meters that way where I'm planning to pitch the tent. Well, as anyone who's ever been camping with me will tell you, I do like to bring my home comforts with me. So short of a pipe and slippers, I've got my comfy chair, because having lugged all your gear up a mountain, there's nothing worse than sitting up outside your tent with nothing to lean back on. So this little Helinox chair comes everywhere with me, and of course a Macallan Gold whiskey. I've still got the image cooking back there. I can just see a splash of light in front of me. Actually, I'm sat here overlooking Snowdon, so it might mean there's something I need to rush up and sort out, but I'm really not that hopeful for it, to be honest with you, after I last spoke to you. I will process it because, you know, you've seen how it started life. If it turns out to be a total dog, at least you'll see that I don't always get winners. But you never know. I mean, there's still a bit of light happening, so I'll whiz up and sort it out now. But I'll probably say good night now, because I'm all set up. I'm going to have something to eat, watch a bit of YouTube. I've got a good 4G signal up here. So yeah, for now, cheers. Well, good morning, and what a morning it is. I crawled out of the tent about 5:30 this morning, ready to get set up for some early photography, and it's beautifully still, not cold at all. I'm waiting for the sun to come up behind Snowdon. Grabbed a couple of shots, not sure if there's going to be anything to show you from it. Lovely crescent moon came up just over Snowdon round about an hour ago, but by the time I got up it was already quite separated, so you may or may not see that one. I'm set up for this image that I'd had in mind when I was scouting around last night. I've got this lovely flank of rock over on the left hand side here with some jagged quartz sticking out, and I've got Snowdon in the background, and some quite nice cloud as well is really making the image. The colour is already washed out of the sky, and even though sunrise is due in about 10 minutes, I won't see the sun for quite some time. But the reds in the sky washed out about 15-20 minutes ago, so we now just have a pretty flat colour. So I think it's pretty much all over. What I've done with the shot is a 3 exposure focus stack, very close up for this jagged rock here on the left hand side, and then I've got a bit of rock in the mid ground which I've also focused on, and then on Snowdon summit itself. It'd be interesting to see what comes of it, and I think this morning, because of the way conditions are looking, I'm probably going to end up just using projected light across on the other side of the sunrise onto some of the mountains behind me at the moment. But when I came out yesterday, I'll be honest, I actually hadn't really given that much thought to any photography. Of course, I bring my gear with me, but I just wanted to get out for a hike and a camp, because I haven't done that for quite a while. I've been really busy with business this summer, and of course in the mountains it's been quite crowded, and so I'd only go out in midweek and couldn't because of business, so weekends wouldn't even think about it. So we're at the very first weekend of September at the moment. The crowds have already thinned out a lot. It's amazing how once you get past the August bank holiday, all of a sudden there's really no one around, which is great. I hope everybody who visited during the summer had a fabulous time, and do come back next summer. But this time of year is always my favourite. It's still nicely warm, having warmed up over the summer. Got September, October, November with the autumn colours. So hopefully I'll be back here quite a bit. I don't believe it. I was just about to pack up thinking that image was all over. And the underside of those few clouds, which actually have condensed out into more solid banks, has just lit up the most beautiful crimson colour. So blended together with those earlier shots I got of this foreground, it makes for a little bit more drama in the shot. I could do without the jets going through, because those jet trails are really difficult to clone out. They're so distracting, and of course as they're quite high up, they're so bright because they're catching every bit of sunlight. But that looks absolutely fabulous. It's just the most beautiful crimson colour. Bit of a camera dash, and right there was one of the reasons why I much prefer tripod with clips, because as you saw I was able to adjust it really quickly. Luckily the light has remained. I've had time to think about it a little bit. The shot is really just about the silhouette of the flank of the mountain. There's no detail in it at all. There isn't going to be. It's just about capturing those beautiful colours. And frankly, you know, as a photographer, it's the sort of thing you go, yeah, you know, it looks lovely, don't get me wrong. It's not that much of an image really. That it'll get gobbled up on social media because of the colour scheme. But you know, I wouldn't enter it in a competition because I know perfectly well it's a bit ho-hum. The Snowdon is silhouetted. There's nothing I can do with that at all. But I do like the colours, and I'm glad I managed to capture them. Now I want that cloud to disappear, because I don't want the sun to come up behind it, because I want it to chuck some light across the valley, because I want to get a shot of Moel Hebog and a Garn and that sort of thing. It's funny, isn't it? You know, you sort of, oh, that's great, let's make the most of that. But actually, that high cloud could wreck the rest of my morning. Remains to be seen. That said, sitting outside my tent having a cup of coffee and a bowl of porridge, which I've been up an hour and I haven't had time to make any yet, so I'm gasping. Well, that's me all done for today. Time to head off home. I'm all packed up and ready to go. And you'll notice that I haven't left behind any disposable barbecues or wrecked deck chairs, dirty nappies or a tent. Strangely enough, I managed to take that all home with me. And I'm going to leave it here for this one. I've had a fabulous couple of hours up here, a relaxing breakfast, and it's time for me to head home. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have, why not subscribe now and join me next time. Cheers.